All right. So we've been learning how to add in further research, excuse me, including new information and quotes in our writing. And so we've been learning how to add in further research, including new information and quotes. And so today we're looking at how to use precise domain-specific vocabulary to improve your writing. Because information writers, they want to teach others. They want to make sure that they're using technical vocabulary that distinguishes them as experts and informs others about the topic. So, let me just write down here some things that aren't related to my topic. You'll get it. All right, so say I'm talking about chameleons. I'm like, chameleons blend in, right? And I'm giving that information. Well, I don't really want to use blend in. Blend in isn't domain specific. So chameleons use camouflage. That's more domain specific vocabulary there. Or another example might be, say I'm talking about like an insect, right? The insect uses its jaw for whatever. And but the jaw isn't necessarily a domain specific. So I might use domain specific, which would be called a mandible. Uses its mandible for, and then I would explain what it uses its jaw for. And that's also given more of a specific definition to the word mandible. I may talk about what camouflage is to in a glossary or something. So again, these are like domain specific words. Now these don't apply to what I'm writing about, so I'm not going to use them in my writing. But I found one, and it was here. I said some teachers don't have time to make their own videos, or there are other experts who present the topic in a more effective way for students. In these cases, finding resources from an outside source is the ideal solution. Remember I said before, I didn't like this word outside source. So I can replace that with more domain-specific vocabulary. What would an outside source be called? Maybe an electronic website, and I actually found it. It said an online repository down here in the quote from EDUCAUSE. So I'm going to just use that and say that is domain-specific vocabulary. From an online repository is the ideal solution. And what I might do is I could actually make this bold and then add it to my glossary. So I come down here to my glossary and I can add that in. Online repository. Oops. Let's go ahead and make that first letter capitalized here in the glossary. Online repository. Don't want to be bold anymore. Online resource that provides educational videos for students. And then I'll say, for example, and in this text, I'm going to actually be giving some examples. For example, Khan Academy, YouTube, SchoolTube, and I could add in more here, but you get the idea in here that I'm now defining what an online repository is, and then in the text itself, I just use the word online repository. So it gives me more of authority and makes me sound like more of an expert when I'm saying the word online repository. And then down here, it's used again in this quote. So that's how you would add in some domain-specific vocabulary, depending on what your topic is. You need to find out what that domain-specific vocabulary is and add it into your writing. So as you are thinking, how can I teach others about this in ways that they will learn more than they already know, so that they too can sound like insiders on the topic. I want to sound like an insider. I want to use the word online repository, so it sounds like I'm one of these people at EDUCAUSE who write these professional articles. And so that's what you want to sound like, as an insider on the topic. And so you use the domain-specific vocabulary, and then your reader, this is definitely, it establishes credibility, plus the reader can then learn it, and then the reader can become an insider on the topic as well. So that's what you want to do in your writing here. And that was the purpose of this lesson, to show you how to put domain-specific vocabulary into your writing.